did witchcraft outside her business to not have money. Look what happens when she tried to put holy water.
What's good, y'all? I hope y'all are doing good. If you're new, welcome. Yeah, we're gonna look at some of the creepiest, craziest conspiracies and shit on TikTok. So let's get it.
The head you see above me is a preserved actual head of Diogo Alves. This is the head of Portugal's first serial killer. He murdered 70 people in the 19th century. His head has been preserved for about 182 years now. And this head is still on display at University of Lisbon. His method of killing was pushing his victims off of an aqueduct. After he was captured and prosecuted, they decided they're going to slice his head off and preserve him. The reason for this, they wanted to study the mind of a serial killer. I'm just amazed at how well preserved this head is after almost 200 years. Because his head is still intact in this jar, they never really studied his brain or why he did the things he did. This head in the jar thing also became a widely known internet prank a couple of years ago. People would put pictures of themselves kind of like twirled up in a jar, and it would look like a head in a jar in a fridge. This story of Diogo Alves inspired all of that. I think the creepiest thing about this though is his eyes are still open as if he's looking right at us. Let me know what you guys think about evil Ed Sheeran.
Nah, for real, what do y'all think about Ed Sheeran? Ed Sheeran goes crazy. But I'm not gonna lie, shit, if they put that in like a thrift store or some shit, if I was walking by and I seen that, I'm definitely, what? You don't gotta tell me twice, I'm buying that shit. That's a cool ass decoration. I'm gonna buy that shit and I'm gonna put it in my room. Call me a freak, call me whatever you want. That's cool.
The topic of polygamy is big in the black community. What is going on in my building? Why does it sound like gunshots in the building? Keith, go in the room.
In November of 2017, this woman, Tamika Baxter, was live streaming on Facebook. It was about 2:30 in the morning. She was talking to some people on live when she heard what sounded like gunshots echoing from the hallway in her apartment complex. In the rest of the video, which I'm going to show at the end of this TikTok, she went to investigate the scene and saw a man lying on the ground and heard a woman screaming for help and to dial 911. As it turns out, the victim that evening who did indeed die was 18-year-old Jashin Patton. Jashin was a promising athlete from the Philadelphia area. He had really great sports stats, he was a rising star, and after his death, people claimed that he just had that it factor. He was going to be somebody big. But on that evening, Jashin had just found out that he was getting accepted into a good college, and his relative's boyfriend, and another woman were celebrating in their apartment with beer. There were also 2 young children in the apartment when all of this went down. At one point in the evening, though, tensions began to rise in the apartment, and like I said, at around 2:30 a.m., gunshots rang out.
Yo, am I tripping though? She heard 15 gunshots and the first thing she thought was to open the door and scream out, yo? That's fucking wild. That's crazy.
Gunshots were fired by this man, 30-year-old Derek L. Butler, who was later arrested for the murder of Jashin Patton. Eventually, Derek was arrested. Like I said before, he had initially fled the scene and he was actually on the run for a while, but at one point in 2019, he was sentenced to 25 years in prison, possibly more, for the murder of Jashin. So I'm going to play you the clip from the rest of this live stream now. It's pretty disturbing, so I'm going to warn you in advance.
Come here. Go in the room. Please, go in the room. Please. What the f was that? Yo!
Crazy.
Is my neighbors fighting? It sounded like gunshots in my building. That's my neighbors, y'all. I think the music is up and I think they're fighting. Oh my God, they're fighting in there. Should I knock on the door? Oh my God, they're fighting. Oh my God, they're fighting. Call 911. Call 911. He's saying call 911. Topic of polygamy is...
See, that's what's wrong with people. What the fuck? What was that? What was that? What was that? What is she doing? Yo, she is wild, bro. She heard 15,000 gunshots, and the first thing she did was open the door, scream out, yo, then grab her phone while recording and walk up to the neighbor's house.
The man you saw in that video, Richard Ragland, went on to drown that day, and this GoPro footage actually captured his final moments of life. Before his death, Richard actually served in the National Guard. Everybody remembered him as having the biggest heart and being a very smart guy. However, on June 4th, 2017, a freak accident would cause Richard to drown in the water he was swimming in Georgia. To this day, nobody knows exactly what killed Richard or what forced him under the water, but his friends that were with him that day stated that he went under the water. They tried to help him, but there was no way they could get him back up to the surface. So after his death, Richard's family mourned their loss. But it wasn't until years later when a diver actually recovered that GoPro sitting at the bottom of that water. The diver's name was Rich Abernathy. He has a YouTube channel where he goes into bodies of water and dives. And he was diving in that same water in Tennessee when he came across a GoPro. And when he looked at the contents of that GoPro, the connection was made that this was Richard Ragland, the man who had drowned there only a few years prior. I'm going to play you a little bit more of that video. It is just some really haunting stuff.
Being with brothers and sisters, we live in life. We live in life. We live in life. The thing is, one common goal that we all share is the same goal.
And that's crazy how life works, man. You can be enjoying your life on vacation with friends and stuff, and then next thing you know, you're not here no more. But it's also kind of his friends are kind of sus, man. He just went under, never came back up. Cap.
Cannibal Holocaust is so disturbing that it's banned in several countries. It was so hard to find pictures that I could use for this video. Google the title of this movie and look at the images and just look at what comes up. After its premiere in Milan, the judge ordered that the movie was pulled from theaters, and the director was actually charged for obscenity. One scene that got them in really big trouble was a scene where they showed a woman being impaled, and the court had to determine whether it was real or not. They also killed real animals on the screen. It was released in 2001 in the UK after so much was cut. And you see so much more before you see the actual cannibalism. There's murder, torture, genocide, the R word, castration, footage of real life executions. On top of this, the director of the movie treated everyone like shit. Like the cannibals were some tribe, and he didn't care to think about how actual tribes are. He was kind of just being stereotypical. He was really, really racist towards the people on set. He exploited people, and there was no real intention behind the movie. Like, he made it so he could freak people out.
I don't know. What do y'all think about that movie? That's pretty fucking crazy. Cannibal Holocaust? God damn. I'm not gonna lie though, now I kinda wanna watch it.
Videos that seem innocent but have a terrifying backstory. Part 5. This man kept finding food in his apartment that he wasn't eating. Videos that seem innocent but have a terrifying backstory. Part 5. This man kept finding food in his apartment that he wasn't eating, so he asked his girlfriend about it and she said that she wasn't eating it either. He didn't believe her, so he set up a video camera to catch her eating the food in the middle of the night. The next morning, when he checked his video camera, he found footage of a woman that he didn't recognize walking throughout his house. He called the cops immediately, and as it turns out, she had been living there for weeks. This next video shows 24-year-old Hollywood actor James Dean giving a public service announcement on the importance of safe driving habits. Nearly a week later, Dean was killed in a head-on collision where he crashed his Porsche at an intersection. The following is a home video of serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer taken on Thanksgiving Day. At the time this was taken, he had murdered and eaten the flesh of 9 people.
Yeah, like I said before, it gets too expensive and I have to start eating at home more.
Nah, bro said the food was too expensive, so he had to start eating at home. That's crazy. Who the fuck is this hanging out with Jeffrey Dahmer, bro? Who the hell just hangs out with Jeffrey Dahmer? What are you doing, bro? You kind of sus, my boy. What are you doing?
This woman created such disturbing videos that she was sentenced to 50 years in prison. This story is truly one of the worst things that I've ever covered here on TikTok, so if you have a weak stomach or you can't hear about animal cruelty, please keep scrolling. So this is Ashley Richards from Houston, Texas. In 2015, she pleaded guilty to 4 counts of producing and 1 count of distributing these disturbing videos. And once again, I'm going to warn you, you can keep scrolling at any time before we get into these details. So this all started in 2012 when PETA, or the group known as People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, contacted the Houston police about a video they had found online. This film was titled Ebony Kill Cat, and it depicted extremely sadistic and cruel acts being forced upon a kitten. So the police got into contact with the people from PETA, and they then sent them 20 additional videos. These videos depicted the sadistic torture of various animals, including kittens, a fish, pigeon, crayfish, mice, a rabbit, all being tortured with different things like high heels, knives, screwdrivers, and pliers. In the videos, the woman that appeared in them was wearing a Mardi Gras style mask, and she would talk suggestively to the people watching this torture. Yes, that meant that there were paying customers out there that were paying this woman to produce these absolutely horrific videos. I cannot share the details of some of these videos. You can actually find the information online through news articles, but I mean, I think I changed as a person after reading these articles. Eventually, though, the police were able to track Ashley's IP address, which led them to her suburban home in Houston. This is an example of one of the messages she shared with the client. I mean, just, ugh. That led them to Brent Justice and Ashley Richards. These were the 2 that were producing these videos and selling them on a website online. And Congress had recently passed a bill making this specific type of video material, otherwise known as crush, illegal. So thankfully they were arrested. Shockingly though, Brent Justice, after the trial, he was actually sentenced to 50 years in prison. Shockingly though, Ashley, the woman who actually carried out these acts on camera, was only sentenced to 10 years in prison. Now, personally, this is one of the most disturbing things I've ever read about, and I definitely think she should have been in prison for a lot.
Yeah, no shit. She should have been in prison for a lot longer. How the hell did he get 50 years and she only got 10? How does that make sense? How does that make sense? Somebody let me know, because I don't understand. Like, killing people, yeah, that's bad. But torturing animals and recording it and selling the video, that's crazy, bro. That's out of pocket, man. That's out of pocket now.
This is a good reminder to double check every single nook and cranny in your house. Because in 2019, this couple came home after a week-long vacation to see that there was a stranger living in their home. And he had most likely been living there while they were also in the house. Also, if you like these kinds of stories, you'll like tonight's episode. Upon arriving home after a week away, Josh Campbell tried the front door of his house, but there was a stranger on the inside pulling it closed. That stranger was 26-year-old Ezekiel Zayas, and yes, this is...
Hey, yo, what is that, bro? What is that? Homie shaved half his face. What the fuck?
This is a video he left on their personal computers. The 2 were able to call the police and eventually get him out of the house, but that's when they saw all of the terrifying stuff he had been up to in the home. He also left them videos on their computers that included incredibly personal information that they had only shared with each other, meaning that he had been listening to their conversations. But the worst part was the knives. Ezekiel had left notes in the house about surgeries that he wanted to perform on the family, like a hand transplant. And when the couple went into their bedroom, they saw that there were knives and other utensils all around the bed. It seemed like he was preparing to do some sort of operation on them.
Homie just wanted to do surgery. That's it. He didn't even want to steal nothing. He didn't want to kill him or not. He just wanted to do surgery, man. He just wants to be a doctor. He wants to be a surgeon. That's it. Somebody give this man a fucking diploma. Somebody put this man in the hospital and put him in charge, please.
They did witchcraft outside her business to not have money. Look what happens when she tried to put holy water.
Yo. They don't want you to clean right there.
Do I just do it and say fuck it?
Nah, because you don't want to be put in the middle and then that spiritu goes in you.
Cap. That's cap, bro. Stop the bullshit. Also, you can see like some liquid type of shit on the driveway.
They took this picture. They noticed this one woman who was standing out. Her face was tilted in the most odd way, creeping everybody who saw it out. We all know that normal people do not take pictures like this at all. She almost looked possessed in this photo. But then people noticed, oh, somebody just edited out the picture and made it look that creepy. Well, here's the normal photo. Believe it or not, majority of the people who seen this photo still was creeped out by the normal looking photo, because if you look deeper into her eyes, if you just look deeper and deeper into her, she just still looks creepy.
Not really, to be honest. You just look like a normal lady she broke her neck. Some people do that. Some people do that. When you want to take a picture of them, they just break their neck. I don't know. It's weird. People do that though.
There is a secret about Disneyland the company doesn't want you to know. If you rode the Pirates of the Caribbean ride back in the 1960s, you would be impressed with how realistic the skeletons looked. That's because when this ride opened at Disneyland, all of the skeletons on the attraction were actual human bones. Now, they tried to install fake skeletons, but Walt Disney thought they looked too fake. So instead, they worked with the medical center at UCLA to get their hands on the real thing. Today, Disneyland says that there are no longer any human remains on the ride, but some people are unconvinced. The bed chamber skull seems to have the most speculation around it. Insiders confirmed that it was in fact real, and others have said that this skull, in particular, was donated by a former employee.
Donated? Yeah, okay. Alright, buddy. Nah, but you know what's crazy to me is that they're able to go to a freaking hospital and buy people's bones. They had to get permission, right? That's crazy. I'll be damned if I die and then they take my bones and put them in Disneyland as a fucking decoration. That's crazy.
This is maybe the scariest urban legend I've ever heard, and it ended up being true. Back in the 1970s, there was this terrifying fun house in Long Beach, California called The Laugh in the Dark. And there was always this urban legend that all the mannequins inside were fake, except for one. Also, mind you, this is what this week's episode is about, so if you don't want spoilers, just listen to the episode. This urban legend came to be because there was one mannequin inside that just looked wrong. All of the other ones looked fake, but this one in particular looked way too human. And a bunch of the kids also said the area that the mannequin was in just smelled really, really bad. So a few years go by, and one day a film crew comes in and is using Laugh in the Dark for a film set. The director's lining up a shot, and he just doesn't like the way this one mannequin looks in frame. So he goes over to a crew member and he's like, hey, can you just move this out of the shot? So the crew member goes over and starts moving the mannequin when its arm pops off. And inside of the mannequin's arm is human bone. The kids had been totally right. The mannequin was a mummified body.
Grabbed a dead body and just said, fuck it. Homie said, fuck it, let's save some money and let's just put a dead person up there. Fuck it. Nobody will notice.
This girl, I think she ran away from home. What is that shit called again? Hitchhiking? Mm-hmm. And she ended up getting like some guy that was like driving a truck. And so they're driving. She thinks, bro, it's pretty cool. The dude like tries to like touch her face or something like that because I think like there was something on her eye or something. He was like, you got an eyelash, baby. Yeah. So I guess she was like, what the fuck? So it freaked her out. The rest of the ride is cool because she falls asleep. They get to like a gas station or some shit, put something inside of like a water bottle, some type of pill. I think he already had it on him or some shit. She wakes up. He tells her, he's like, put your arms out. She puts her arms out, bruh. He starts hacking at her arms, bro. Whoa. I swear to God, on some weird shit, bro. I don't even know why he does this. Chops her arms off, bruh. And then he kicks her down a ditch leaves her there to die.
With no arms.
With no arms, bro. I swear to God. He's thinking she's dead.
Yeah.
He cuts out. He's like, fuck it. I already did what I wanted to do. I'm out of here. She goes, this girl,
yeah, the cliffhanger is crazy. That's fucked up. I really wanted to know the rest, but this is why your parents always told you growing up, man, don't get in a stranger's car. Why would you get in a stranger's car and then fall asleep?
Oh my God, that's what I look like. Like, how do you fix this? Like, how do you fix this? I didn't realize he had taken off my whole lip.
November 3rd, 2020, aspiring model Brooklyn Corey walked into an Arizona nutrition shop when an employee approached her and said, whatever you are about to go through, you're going to remain positive. This would be an ominous foreshadowing of the living nightmare she was going to experience just 15 minutes later. Brooklyn then left the shop and headed to her cousin's house nearby to have lunch with her. And ironically enough, while she was there, she snapped a selfie of herself and noticed she had a zit on her upper lip and felt very insecure and self-conscious about this. She would even later say she went on to crop her upper lip out of this photo that she took, not knowing just moments after this, she would have no upper lip at all. Brooklyn was then in her cousin's kitchen watching her cousin put away these pots and dishes and happened to notice the pit bull, a pit bull she had known since it was 8 weeks old when her cousin brought it home, one that she had met many times and she would say never showed any signs of aggression or violence towards her, was sitting beside her and her cousin, and so she reached out to pet it. And as she did, she turned around to look at her cousin just for a few seconds and then turned back towards the dog. And as she turned back, all she saw was a blur of fur, gums, and teeth as the pit bull lashed out at her and sank its teeth into her mouth, specifically her upper lip. It would hang on to this lip with all of its strength. So now she begins to grab its head and try to push it back off of her lip, but it is biting down and holding on so tight that it even starts shaking her head a little from side to side. This pit bull would go on to hang from her upper lip for a full minute before she was finally able to pry this dog's teeth off of her face. And as she did, she would later say she saw something fly out of the dog's mouth and go through the air and hit the wall. She didn't know at the time it was her upper lip. All she knew was that she immediately took a big breath. She described it as feeling like someone shoved dry ice up her nostrils. Her cousin took one look at Brooklyn, and all she could say is, "You're going to sue me when you see what's been done to your face." Moments later, Brooklyn was rushed to the hospital where a nurse would throw a rag over her face and say, "Please."
Yo, that is a fucked up thing to say. That is fucked.
Cover up because she could not bear to look at her face. Ultimately, the pit bull was put down, and as for Brooklyn, even after multiple facial reconstruction surgeries, she has, for the most part, let go of her aspirations of being a model because it's been very difficult, as you can imagine, to get work. Instead, she's taken up skateboarding.
She knew the dog since it was 8 weeks old. She didn't do shit to the dog. And it just ripped her face off for no reason? Yeah. I'm good. I'll pass on those.
If you still use one of these things, you might want to take caution. In the mid-80s, 17-year-old Jason Finley was found deceased in his bedroom with zero evidence as to what happened. Jason was in good health, and there was no evidence in his room that would suggest there was any kind of foul play that night. It wasn't until an autopsy revealed blood in Jason's inner ear, which points to an electrical surge of some kind. And that's when the pieces of this puzzle finally started to come together. Jason happened to be on the phone while there was a bad thunderstorm that night, and all it took was for his house to be struck by lightning and that electricity to travel through his telephone wires. The girl that Jason was on the phone with also admitted to hearing a weird clicking noise, a gasp from Jason, and then silence, which that kind of makes sense. When I was a teenager, I remember thinking that this was a complete myth, but
clearly it's not. That is some crazy shit. I'll be damned if I went out like that. That's a crazy way to die.
It's inexplicable. Like, it's nothing like I've ever felt, or it just doesn't, you can't even comprehend. But I knew straight away it was acid. My t-shirt dissolved.
December of 2014,
Holy shit.
30-year-old Andreas Christoferos was at home with his wife and young son when suddenly he heard a knock at his front door. Assuming it was just another friendly neighbor or perhaps a delivery man, he went to open it. But as soon as Andreas opened it, he only heard, "This is for you, mate," and was splashed in the face with battery acid. He says immediately he knew it was acid and ran through his house screaming for his wife to call 911 as he tried to find the kitchen where he would begin dousing his face with tap water. But as he ran to the kitchen, his t-shirt began melting off of his shoulders from where this acid was dripping onto it. And so finally his wife comes running down the steps wondering what is going on, and as she does, she has socks on, and when she steps in these areas where the acid has dripped off of Andreas onto the carpet, she recalls it disintegrating her socks off of her feet. Ultimately, he was rushed to the hospital where he was not expected to survive by doctors, but he fortunately has after more than 60 surgeries. However, he is still partially blind and
Wow, that sounds extremely expensive. 60 surgeries?
forever scarred. The attacker, a painter and decorator named David Phillips, was later caught and confessed to police that he had driven 300 miles to find a man who he planned to get revenge on for SAing a member of his own family. But very quickly it was discovered that David Phillips had found the wrong house and splashed the wrong man. Phillips was convicted but has since been released from prison after his sentence was cut in half and is now back in society. Andreas says in regards to the pain of that acid attack, he would have rather been shot.
I don't blame him. I would also rather be shot than splashed with battery acid. That is so fucking crazy. And he didn't even do anything. He didn't even really deserve that shit, man. Never open the door unless you know who it is. That's why I never open the door. I don't even open the door for the fucking delivery guy. Shit. I just look through the window first.
In 2007, a girl was on a late night walk when she looked at the end of the road and saw the silhouette of a man moving around very strangely. It was like he was doing the waltz, but he was moving towards her, so she was sketched out, crossed the road, and went the other way. After a couple minutes, she turned around to see what he was doing, and he was right across the street from her, now staring up into the sky with a huge grin on his face. Now totally creeped out, she turns around and walks about a half block before checking again, and to her horror, he's now crouched down right behind her. But luckily, he stands up, turns around, and kind of hobbles away, and then she notices something. The man had turned around and was now sprinting directly towards her. She runs to safety and now just hopes she never has to see that smiling man again.
Hey man, what's wrong with smiling? Maybe he was just happy and he wanted to ask her for her number or something. Usually when somebody smiles, that means they're pretty happy. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if I made any of you poop or pee your pants. Let me know in the comments. I hope y'all enjoyed. Like I said, make sure you subscribe and all that shit if you did, and catch you on the next one. Peace.